Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. Oh man, what an episode to have at 7 on the West Coast, 10 on the East Coast. My name is Jason Aponte, as you guys usually know. Make sure if you're here, new, old, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell when we go live. There's a lot to talk about when we're going on, especially what goes on with the season. But I'm joined by Niners Nation's own Jordan Elliott, aka Splash Cousin, aka Rich J Madrid. Jordan, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
I mean, it's going swimmingly. And there's nothing to really talk about with 49ers, right? Like right now, we don't have much to talk about. We don't have to talk about much, right? Like they don't give us much to talk about.
Been a pretty dry year, unfortunately.
And we've been trying to like draw content from them, clickbait. You know, we've been trying to draw as much as we could from them. If you don't understand, that's sarcasm. Because as it stands right now before the biggest game that the 49ers have to play. And yes, let's point this out. Steph from the 49K podcast, 49K pod. Make sure you subscribe to her channel as well and subscribe to them wherever you can. Jordan's jacket is fire. We are talking about a team that will never give us things to stop talking about. And today we found out the secondary is largely back. So we'll start there. And I know everybody wants to get to what they want to talk about, but we will react accordingly. Jordan, how much does Jimmy Ward, Dante Johnson, K'Wan Williams, all of those guys coming off the COVID list, and Emmanuel Mosley off of the IR affect how this game moves?
It makes all the difference in the world because if they didn't play, I'm not saying the Niners would have no chance at all, but it would be extremely difficult for them to win in spite of that. So they go from needing a miracle to win without them to you can feel pretty – I don't want to say like feel good about them being favorites, but you kind of come back to this like they've won 5 in a row. They always seem to just kind of have the Rams number. And as good as I think Van Jefferson and Odell Beckham are, Cooper Kupp can't do it all on his own. And Robert Woods going down, I think, is something that kind of got swept under the rug because the Rams didn't just fall off as an offense. And they also have, Odell came in right around that same time, if I recall correctly. But Robert Woods is insanely good. And he's a guy who I feel has given the 49ers more headaches than Cooper Kupp has. So getting those guys back makes a huge difference just because I think while Kupp might put his numbers up, like he put up great numbers in the first matchup, but it didn't really have a big effect on the outcome of the game overall. So I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, Jimmy Ward's back off the COVID list, he's going to clamp Cooper Kupp, but you might see on some of these big third downs, and that's the down to watch. They'll put Jimmy Ward in, and he kind of equalizes out Cooper Kupp in the slot because that's what the Rams like to do on third down. They put him out there. So while he may get his numbers, if you watch the matchup individually when he's in man with Jimmy Ward, he's going to have a really tough time because that's a matchup that for as good as Kupp is, Jimmy Ward has really had his number over the years.
And you notice right away on Monday Night Football, Jimmy Ward hadn't played a bunch of games. He literally had 2 interceptions in that game. And a lot of that we're going to get into because there was a lot of discussion about how the 49ers dominate the Rams. But for some reason, it's weird to me. The Rams seem to play their worst games whenever they face the 49ers on all facets of the game. And it's not just one person. So the quarterback missing throws, Cooper Kupp dropping passes, the team missing blocks, and we'll get into all of those things. But it's good to see that the secondary is in its best state because I think that, we speak for the large majority of the 49er fans that want to see, obviously Emmanuel Mosley deserves to start. He's proven that continuously with his play. But I think a lot of us speak for the fact that Emmanuel Mosley plus Ambry Thomas with Jimmy Ward and K'Wan Williams makes the secondary as formidable as it can be in a game where you pretty much need all hands on deck. It's a must-win game, right? And what's the Waterboy saying? Hey, must-win game, can't hold anything back. And this team, they need all of those things. So it's not an understatement to say that all of these things, in terms of activations and who's going to be playing, will play a big role in this game. And let me get to a donation real quick. Mike wants to know, glad you enjoyed the Jet McKinnon, Mr. Incredible vid. Keep up the good work. Yes, QB1. And you know what's funny? Darrell Williams went down in this game, and Jerick McKinnon had to assume a lot of the workload. And look at him. Scored a touchdown, played pretty well. Look at that guy go. That was a really good video though. We all sent it to the group chat when you sent it. It was so good. But yeah, in terms of COVID activations, the 49ers have to feel good in terms of where they are for this game based on personnel, how they match up, what the Rams want to do, right? But let's talk about the one thing that I feel is an unknown, at least for now. But I'll tell you, I expect this person to play. Jordan, if Trent Williams somehow cannot go in this game, what is your feelings about that? Even though I expect him to go, and I assume you expect him to go.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he didn't play. But it's more so like I think a much more likely scenario would be him maybe not making it through the game and get if that injury flares up or something. If he doesn't go, you can't count on the 49ers absorbing the loss of both their tackles. Like Tom Compton has stepped up huge. I'm not gonna lie, when he first took over, I was very concerned because he didn't look great to start out. But they've overcome the loss of one starting tackle. You can't really count on them doing it, with both. They had that little stretch in 2019 when they had Staley and McGlinchey both out and they were able to tread water. But I just think that this year, from what we've seen, because I imagine that Jalen Moore would take those reps most likely. And for a rookie and a guy that's been getting a lot of reps on the right side, like it's just too much to ask for a guy to come in that game and expect him to play. Not even, we obviously know he's not going to play at the same level as Trent Williams because Trent Williams is having arguably the best season of any offensive lineman in like the last decade. So you would want him just to come in and play at a baseline level, but I don't think you could even really count on that. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that there's not really a chance that Trent Williams doesn't play in this game. And while, you can't read into everything that the Niners do or the coaches say with injuries, when Kyle Shanahan says, I got confidence a guy's going to play, that pretty much means they're going to play. And when he said that about Trent Williams, I wasn't too worried about it because one thing, I love Kyle's press conferences for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that I don't think he's the greatest poker player. Like he's not very good at hiding, things. And so what's so fun to me, people are like, oh, he's playing games with the other team, he's doing this, he's doing that. Like, dude, if I would love to sit at a card game with Kyle Shanahan because I feel like I could empty his pockets pretty quickly. The guy's not good at,
He has many tells.
Yeah, exactly. So when he was talking about Trent Williams, it felt like, like the guy's an all-pro. He's a stud. Like, yeah, you'd like to see a guy getting practice reps, but is he really going to suffer that much sitting out? No, I think they were just being precautious, and I don't blame them for it. So, yeah, I expect him to be there. And if he's not, prayers up for Tom Compton and Jalen Moore because Von Miller and Leonard Floyd are very good because we can already count on Brunskill neutralizing Aaron Donald. We don't have to worry about that guy. But, Floyd and Miller are very formidable too.
Well, let me ask you this then, Jordan or Rich. What's the bigger loss in this game if one person can't go? Let's just say in a world where this happens and no one wishes this. Let's just say Trent Williams can't go, Jimmy Ward can't go. What's the bigger loss?
That's really tough.
I like that I sprung that on you right now too.
Yeah.
Also, and
I'm actually gonna say Jimmy Ward just because I think that the Niners can scheme around, I think, the loss of a tackle for 3 quarters or 2 quarters. Part of the reason why the Niners defense has been so good this year with all the corner issues is because Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt as a tandem are extremely talented. And I think just losing, if you lost either of those guys, I would say the same thing for Jaquiski Tartt. If Tartt went down, it would be bigger loss than anybody on the line too, just because those guys and their consistency have held down the back end so much. And the chemistry that those two have after playing dozens upon dozens of games together over the years is just something that I think would throw a little bit bigger curveball at the 49ers mid-game, making adjustments, than just plugging in a tackle. Because again, we've seen in the past Kyle be able, like they went into LA a couple years ago, and Dan Brunskill and Justin School were the starting tackles, and they, I think it was 27 was the final score, but they handled themselves okay. I think that the O line would be able to tread water, but if that secondary gets even thinner than it already is, then I would be extremely concerned.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it. It's like you don't want either. If there was a world that you lived in that was perfect, it would be both of them that played in this game. And it looks like Jimmy's going to play in this game. And I think Trent plays in this game. For me, it's just a hypothetical, tossing out there. So,
It's a good question,
um,
and I think real quick, I think people sometimes get or not confused, but they overlook, like, because no offense to Jimmy Ward, Trent Williams is arguably one of the best 5 players in the entire sport right now. I don't think
100%.
anybody would disagree that Trent Williams is maybe the better player, even though it's not the same position. But that doesn't mean necessarily, based on the roster and depth, that he is more important in a given matchup in a given week. That can fluctuate. And like I said that I thought DJ Jones was one of the 5 most important players on the 49ers. And people are like, you don't think he's better than this player, this player, and this player? And I was like, no, that's not what I said. I just think that there's a level of importance that a guy has. And when the O-line has been able to absorb losses that the secondary hasn't, it's fair to say that Jimmy Ward might be more important in this specific matchup against a team that has a quarterback that loves to throw the ball, and they want to drop him back and go in empty formations and throw the ball 45 times. Like, it's not a crazy thing to say, but people will hear that and they'll be like, oh, this guy said Jimmy Ward's better than Trent Williams. And that's not at all the point that's being made.
Right. And I think that schematically, you have to look at what teams do well, what guys contribute. And it's never about better player. It's all relative to their position, right? Like it's the same thing with the MVP conversation about quarterbacks, who contributes more, running backs. It's all relative to what they do, what they're asked to do, those sort of things, right, Jordan? That's big brain stuff though. Like, for most fans. But we are lucky enough to cover a team where we have fans that are smarter than that. So they understand both of those things. Like nobody would ever confuse you saying that Jimmy Ward is better than Trent Williams. I mean, if you put Jimmy Ward at left tackle, I'm pretty sure he would struggle. You put Trent Williams at strong safety, free safety, I'm pretty sure he would struggle.
Would
But I
he
think
though? Like, would
well,
it? That man's really.
Trent Williams wouldn't
Could you
probably.
imagine hitting the hole as a running back and you get met by Trent Williams running full speed through the B gap and just smacking you in the face? Like, that would not be fun, man. Like, yeah,
but
over time, yeah.
Imagine being a cornerback, right? Or like a safety or something like that. Or even a linebacker. And you have a hole and you're like, oh, I'm gonna meet the ball carrier. And here comes this mammoth man running as fast as he can. Like it's not just like some lumbering guy, right? Like Trent Williams isn't some guy who lumbers through the hole and he's just like, here I am. No, he's a guy that can run as fast as your linebacker and put you on your ass, man. It's just 49er fans are blessed. They have many players that they watch on every Sunday that are the best at their position, and Trent Williams is just one of them. He just happens to be the best in the world at this point. So, Jordan, everybody wants us to get to a certain subject, but I'm going to keep diverting away from that a little bit, just a little bit. Do you suspect that the Rams will do something that they haven't done over 2 years? Forget 17 games or 16 games, 2 years defensively that will hamper the 49ers in this position? Because I don't understand why people are saying, well, they'll switch it up. They had many times to switch it up. Do you suspect that this is the week that the Rams figure it out?
Not like I don't think that they'll do anything like schematically that would be such an adjustment that would throw them off. Like I could see if Jimmy's thumb really is bothering him, if they're able to pressure him a little bit more, like maybe they can. But I don't think it's going to be something where Raheem Morris is like, I finally figured out after 3 years how to stop this offense. It's been giving us headaches. I think it's more so just like they have really good players, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing the same things, but a Leonard Floyd or Von Miller or Aaron Donald just happens to make some big plays. But yeah, like they haven't been able to account for Deebo Samuel, and that's been their biggest problem, I think, defensively. And we all know the whole thing with Aaron Donald's like, who's that? He doesn't know who Deebo is. Like, I can promise you, he knows who the guy is at this point. And that whole
Did you see what he had an interview yesterday, and they asked him about Deebo Samuel, who's not Deebo Samuel at all, and Aaron Donald jokingly answered. He started it and said, "Who?" And then he said, "No." He was like, I know, they move him around and everything like that. So he's definitely there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
yeah,
you're
he
good. And I
definitely
don't. I
understood.
think people took that as like ultimate disrespect too. Like I don't think people understand that for the most part when these guys are doing game prep, like
They know numbers.
they know
They don't know
numbers, they don't know
names.
names. So and especially for an offensive lineman who's not in the meeting room all week prepping to stop a Debo Samuel, like he's more concerned with 60 and 50 and 75 and these guys on the offensive line. So I don't think that it was like a shot at him or it was like people took it as this like ultimate disrespect. And if Debo didn't put a chip on his shoulder, like good for him. Maybe it's a little different for those guys who are actually in the league, but I don't think Aaron Donald like maliciously did that to try to like talk down to Debo Samuel. And if he continued to, let's say he hypothetically did, it would make him look really bad because every time they play, Debo absolutely destroys his defense. So
Yep.
I just think that was really misconstrued, and people were like taking it as this like horrible insult when I think it genuinely was just like who's that, like, and that's not just football players, like a lot of professional athletes, they know each other based on number not name. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it was as egregious as people made it out to be.
And that's the funny part is a lot of, and a lot of us as 49er fans, right? We kind of ran with that. And we kind of were like, "Well, how dare you?" And that's what I think that a lot of what Debo said in the press conference in terms of I'm not pressed to have a conversation with this person. I don't suspect that you'll ever see Aaron Donald and Debo Samuel swapping jerseys, right? That's why you see wide receivers and wide receivers swapping jerseys, or guys who went to the same college, those sort of things. And I think that's a little bit lost, right? When Aaron Donald watches film, he watches numbers and he watches guys that he has to go against. He's a pass rusher, right? Like he doesn't have to cover, Debo Samuel. So that sort of thing is lost. And I know that's not fun to talk about, right? Like we should just be drumming up the drama. But reality is when you watch film, those guys don't look at those guys the same way. I'll ask you this, Jordan. This is the sixth game that the 49ers have a chance to win a game in, right? They won 5 in a row. Jimmy Garoppolo's won 4. Nick Mullins has won 1. I have the mind when I watch these games back, when I watch the Rams play, the Rams seems to play their worst game every single time they play the 49ers. And I don't know if that has anything to do with who they're facing or if that's just some, I don't know, it's not correlating to anything that anybody can put together numbers wise or logically. Is there anything that you could speak to in terms of the way that the Rams play with the 49ers? Because they seem to play better games against other people, but when the 49ers are on the schedule, doesn't matter the quarterback, they seem to play their worst games. Is there any correlation to any of that?
So it's really interesting because I've heard some like pundits and like NFL Network and national writers and stuff. And yes, it is Gennaro at
It
100%.
is absolutely.
Legit, like I
That's
have a lot of cool stuff. Jason's been to my place. He's seen it. This is by far probably the coolest thing I have now.
and
Like
that is like one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen, like in my life.
it absolutely is. Yes. Thank you, Gennaro. Yeah, it is. But I've heard a lot of them say that they think the reason the Rams struggle because the 49ers want to run the ball 35 times and they want to, play physical, and the Rams are a finesse team and they can't play that way. But if you look at it, the Rams absolutely dominate Seattle every time they play. And while Seattle's been not the greatest roster the last couple of years, they've always been a run-first physical team under Pete Carroll. And the Rams take them to the woodshed almost every time they play. So I don't think it's as simple as just like, oh, the Niners are, physical team that wears them down. I think it's more like maybe a little bit, but it's more so like the scheme. It's more so like the fact that they're being stretched horizontally and they're having to account for these big, holes upfield in the zone blocking scheme, and they're having to account for motion and mismatches and personnel and stuff like that. Like it's not like the Niners are just lining up in power formations and running up the middle 30 times a game. Like there's a lot of it where it really is like a schematic thing. And Jason and I are both big fans of Kyle Shanahan and what he does as a play caller, but I think this is where he really, like, for some reason, the Rams just haven't been able to adjust. And I think Kyle, like any of us, when we, do something that we're good at, goes into it with a little bit more confidence where he just knows how to pick apart this defense. He knows how to pick apart these fronts they're showing. So I think it's just a perfect storm. And like last year, that game against like the Nick Mullins game, it's crazy if you think about it, because the Rams were the number one defense. But if you look back at that game, like the Niners turned the ball over like 4 times. They didn't dominate it by any means. Javon Kinlaw had a pick 6 in that game. So it's like almost one of these situations where you can't really like logically define any of it because it doesn't make any sense. And like the thing I always point to is like Daniel Brunskill is like a pretty good like league average guard. Like
But he owns Aaron Donald.
but when he goes up against Aaron Donald, he goes like superhuman, and he has these performances where he's not only just like holding his own, but he's like dominating Aaron Donald one-on-one on these reps on the offensive line. And it's just something that can't really be explained. And I don't know if it's, again, it's just like a confidence thing, or if it's like a psychological thing where over time it's like the same results keep happening no matter what. But yeah, there's nothing that like I can really point to outside of like schematically. It feels like Kyle's very comfortable. Like I can't recall a game where, as a play caller, I was just like sitting there and I'm like, man, Kyle doesn't look like he's in his bag today. He doesn't look like he's comfortable calling plays. And I've seen that a couple times this season where it's felt like that. But against the Rams, he like never comes into these games, it feels like, where he's lost or doesn't know how to make adjustments or do any of these things.
Yeah, and Rich Jr., I gotta agree with you, man. And realistically, that's one time that I said it. If you guys want to play the drinking game. I said something on the Locked On 49ers podcast. I said something on my own podcast that was the Rams don't really change what they're doing. And they're going to just be rigid in that defensively, right? And what I point to is Brandon Staley has largely implemented what he wants to do too high, and everything else is you kind of have to come in, Raheem Morris, and run what Brandon Staley does. Keep everything in front of you. No big plays. You can run the ball all you want. We have offense to beat all those things. The only thing that really gave me vindication was when I watched Kyle Shanahan in his interview with Greg Papa today, and he dropped it. That dropped about 24 hours ago, probably yesterday. And he said the Rams don't change. So for one time in my life, I can say, hey, me and Kyle understand the same things. And he said defensively, they're not going to really change what they want to do. Obviously, they've improved in their running game, and he said all of those things. But he said largely what they want to do philosophy-wise is not going to change. And I'm so happy that for once I got one thing right when it comes to like things like that, because I get so many things wrong. But that's the thing that gives me confidence going into this game, is that Kyle understands their philosophy, their rules, and will use that against them until you decide to do something drastic, which I don't feel the Rams are ready to do. Also, another thing, the Rams are not physical, tough like that. When they get punched in the mouth, they want to go home a little bit. And it's happened with many teams that have winning records. You can beat up on the Jacksonville Jaguars all you want. You lost to the Packers. The Niners kind of beat up on you. Everybody who has a winning team has kind of put you in a spot where you don't look physical. Jordan, I'll ask you this, or Rich Jr., I'll ask you this. Is there anything to the idea that Kyle kind of has their defensive philosophies figured out, less than the personnel? Because he didn't try to test Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting if you look at it. So, like, think about who gives the 49ers problems in the division. Like, Seattle has given them problems for years, and I think so much of that has to do with the fact they have a Hall of Fame middle linebacker in Bobby Wagner. KJ Wright was really good for a number of years. Jordan Brooks is a lot better than people give him credit for. And then recently, Arizona, as Isaiah Simmons has gotten better, and as Zaven Collins was better earlier in the year. Like, these teams that have good athletic linebackers that can get sideline to sideline. Like, it feels like that always kind of, creates problems for the 49ers. And it makes sense because they like to run so many of these quick passing concepts over the middle of the field. They like to stretch the field horizontally running the ball. So if you look at the Rams, what do the Rams have? The Rams have a really good all-generation type player at corner in Jalen Ramsey. He's phenomenal. They have Aaron Donald, who I think is the best defensive player of this generation. He's one of the best football players to ever step on an NFL field. Like, the guy is incredible. They have Von Miller. They have Leonard Floyd. They have guys on this defense. Like, this defense is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But what they don't have is a strong group of linebackers. And I think that it's been that way for a number of years now. They had Corey Littleton was really good for a little while, but I believe he's been in Vegas the last 2 seasons. They just don't have a unit there that really strikes fear, I think, into Kyle's scheme. And like, so if you look at it, like they play really well against Seattle. What does Seattle want to do? Seattle wants to run the ball, set up play action, and then take deep shots to Lockett and Metcalf. With that secondary, with the pressure that those guys bring, it creates problems for Seattle doing that against the Rams defense. What do the Niners want to do? They want to run the ball horizontally, and they want to throw quick passes over the middle, in between the numbers and in between the hashes. So I think it's just a situation where, as much as Kyle has the philosophy down, his scheme and what he wants to do does not match up well with what the Rams have. And it's almost like Kyle's greatest strength and the 49ers as the team greatest strength on offense matches up with the Rams' biggest weakness. And no matter how many star-studded players they have around that defense, that big gaping hole in the middle that they have at that linebacker spot is getting exposed week in and week out when they play, not week in and week out, whenever they play the 49ers. And if you go back and look, like, I forget who was covering them, but if you guys remember last season, week 6, when they had that 4th and 2, and Kittle, I think they ran like a zero blitz or something. There wasn't really much.
And it was a touchdown.
Yeah,
and they finished Monday Night Football on a 4th down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you have to think about these guys are not already not the greatest to begin with, and then you have to account for a Deebo Samuel running these pre-snap motions behind the line of scrimmage. You have to account for a George Kittle getting the ball over the middle. You have to account for a Brandon Ayuk who's showing he's just every bit the playmaker we all expected him to be. So I just think it's a situation where the 49ers can get through a game and not throw at Jalen Ramsey more than 2 or 3 times. And I'm not saying that it takes him out of the game because he's too good of a player to just be taken out, but it's almost a situation where like you just focus on attacking the other players, and Kyle's scheme favors that so much where it's not like, oh, okay, the Rams could just make this. Like, what are they going to do? Like trade for a linebacker in the middle of the game? Like, no, they've come into this season and the previous seasons content with the fact that they have studs everywhere. And the linebackers will just kind of get by. Like people always talk about how Kyle just kind of like gets by with the offensive line. Like that's what it feels like the Rams do with their linebackers. And I think it does not bode well. And the same reason why you mentioned they play the Packers. The Packers run a very similar scheme to the 49ers, and the Packers have beaten them the last couple times they played. They beat them in the playoffs last season. They beat them earlier at Lambeau this year too, I think. So maybe it's just a massive coincidence, but I think that it does line up because of that. And that's why you see, I know we're going to get to it eventually, but that's why you see Jimmy Garoppolo have the success he does against them, because Jimmy's greatest strength matches up with their biggest weaknesses. And even with his, like a couple times last game, he took some shots at Jalen Ramsey, and I'm like, oh no, like, what are you doing? Like, stop. Like, no,
it was nearly a pick. Yeah. And, look, I can't explain it any better than Rich Jr. Jordan explained it. But yes, that's the thing is it's funny how teams can be top heavy, better than your roster, but this is a matchup-based league. And this is where the 49ers win. And that's why Kyle feels so cocky, I feel like, in these press conferences, where he's talking crazy about, I'm not telling you who the quarterback is, because I feel like he still has that advantage because schematically he attacks where they can be beat. And the thing I'll point to is Sean McVay is pressing. He's lost 5 straight. The fake field goal is all you need to know about how he feels about these games. And he's just trying to like find a way to spark these things. But I have a donation real quick from Ruben Quinones. Block splash cousin.
That's gotta be Rio.
Oh, it's real. It's 100%. I 100% agree with that. Also, by the way, that's why he is Rich J Madrid this week. But yes, 100%. Block splash cousin. Rich, as always, man, you're always a contributor. Just wanted to show some support. Appreciate you, bro. Let's get down to some of these comments. Let's see. So, look, it's funny, right? I love how this game is such a matchup-based game, the chess match, everything. And people are in your head. You could have, and Brian Peacock, when I was on the Locked On 49ers podcast, shout out to him. Make sure you subscribe to that. I'm certain you probably already have. But he said that the Rams have this defense of stars and scrubs. And that's pretty good in terms of you're top heavy. Aaron Donald is probably the best football player in the world. Jalen Ramsey's probably the best cover corner in the world. Leonard Floyd and Von Miller, those are elite pass rushers. After that, it just becomes a bunch of guys who are bodies at that point. And that's how they choose to build their roster, which is another thing. You know what? Before we get to the quarterback thing, let's talk about this. The Rams, year after year, choose to not draft players, send those draft picks for proven commodities. Rich Jr., do you have a problem with the way that the Rams are building their team? And in my mind, there's more than one way to skin a cat to produce a team that will be in the playoffs, be competitive. But do you have a problem with the way that the Rams send all of their picks for proven commodities while not winning Super Bowls? Because they still haven't won one during this time.
No, and I'll say it for two reasons. So I would preface this with I like the draft. I like I like building a team on team-friendly deals with younger players that you can scout, that you can bring in. As anybody who played or watches the sport knows, it's a very physically demanding sport. And yes, while it's nice to get proven talent, if you're getting a guy on their second contract, they also have a lot of mileage on them. So I personally would be more inclined to rely on a good scouting department and a good front office to draft players. But I do think that with the Rams, they're in a little different situation. Okay. So I think sometimes it's we get clouded by being 49ers fans, people who cover the team, follow the team, love the team, whatever you want to say. The 49ers are one of the biggest brands in not only football, but like all of sports. Like the 49ers are going to, despite what you see from people saying that Levi's isn't full on a given day or people saying they're not watching, like the 49ers are going to get eyeballs. I've lived in the Bay Area my entire life. And the 49ers have a very big following. A lot of it really just has to do with the fact that the stadium is in a terrible spot and it's difficult for people to go. So the whole conception that, oh, people only watch the Niners when they're good, it's not true at all. The Niners are going to get viewers no matter what. The Rams, on the other hand, are in Los Angeles where there's a million things to do. The Los Angeles Lakers are king and always will be king. For a good stretch, you could argue it's been bad lately. USC football would actually be ahead of NFL football down there, which is why you saw the Rams go and leave and the Raiders go and leave. So the entire point I'm making is that the Rams are in a spot where they don't have the equity the Niners have with the logo that you see on Jason's hat or on my jacket here, wherever it is. They don't have that brand recognition. They need to draw people into this $6 billion stadium they have. So, yeah, I know they've been doing it for a couple seasons, but I think the fact that they were so willing to go all in this year has so much to do with the fact that they need to sell PSLs. They need to get fan interest in LA drummed up. They need to be that team in LA that people flock to because, again, you'd like to think that it's all driven purely by what they want to do on the field. And yeah, it doesn't hurt your chances if you're a good team and you add a Von Miller or you add a Matthew Stafford. But I think so much of it has to do with the fact that when you're catering to a market in Los Angeles, you need to have stars on your team. You need to have big personalities and people that are going to be box office success in a town, again, where they have so many other things, which is why you hear a lot of times for a long time, we heard about how professional football would never work there because people just aren't going to care. There's so many things going on. But if you have a Jalen Ramsey, a Matthew Stafford to pair with already having Aaron Donald, you get Von Miller. Like, no disrespect to Von Miller. He's one of the greatest defensive players of this generation. He's been a phenomenal player. But
he's diminished. And he's on the end.
Yeah, he has a lot of miles on his body after being in the league for so long. But the name Von Miller, like that excites people. It brings people in. So,
Odell Beckham.
Yeah, Odell Beckham, same thing. I think OBJ still has a lot to offer, but again, the name alone draws people in. So in terms of the strategy, like it's kind of hit or miss, but I think the Rams are in a spot where they can't sit here and patiently wait and develop guys. Like they need to go all in. And I think part of that was getting this $5 billion. Jason and I were there in the preseason. That place is a palace. It is.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the nicest football stadium I've ever been in. But at the same time, it's not going to pay for itself. And they need to sell PSL. They need to get people in the seats. And I think that so much of the decisions that they've made have to do with the fact that if you don't bring in star power in Los Angeles, you're never going to succeed as a sports franchise.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. And I think that when we talk about roster construction, they're very top heavy. And there's many teams that are top heavy that don't, have the complementary pieces to get things done. And again, there's more than one way. Oh, hi. Hello. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And I think the Rams are going at it the way that they are because they're in the market and they are trying to put the best product on the field that they can. But at the same time, as again, I'm going to steal from Brian Peacock, stars and scrubs. That is kind of how you describe the Rams on their defensive side, not on their offensive side. Van Jefferson's great, and I think that he's more of a threat than people believe. But yes, a lot of it has to do with market. Let me ask you this, Jordan. The 49ers are going into a stadium where they probably have the home field advantage. Levi South is what they're calling it. How much does that have to play into this game?
I think it'll be a lot like not like I don't want to say it's going to be like a Super Bowl and have people think I'm equating Week 18 game to the Super Bowl, but it'll be a lot like the Super Bowl in the sense that for most Super Bowls it's fairly split with the crowd. So when you're on offense, you still have to deal with loud noise, and defense and vice versa. Like it's going to be pretty balanced throughout the game, I feel like. So I don't think there's going to be an inherent disadvantage for the 49ers offense being out there, where I also think that maybe it might not be as easy for the Rams offense when they're out there. Like it's going to be a pretty steady amount of noise. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see the 49ers have more fans in the building than the Rams. The Rams have a little bit bigger following than the Chargers do. But when we were there for the Chargers game, even though it's a preseason game, that place was pretty much 80% Niners fans, 85%.
For sure.
Niners.
And Leo was there too. And oh, look, Leo the Luna is here as well to talk about the same thing. We were all in the same building at that time.
Who let this bozo in?
Jordan or Rich Jr.
Rich, is that what the J is for? Junior?
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Is that what the J is for? What does the J in Rich J Madrid stand for? Jordan, do we know?
I have not confirmed. I always joke that it stood for Jordan because I'm his favorite son, but I don't know for sure.
It would be the ultimate plot twist, but for you guys that are just joining, we've got Leo Luna here, who off of daddy duty, who is joining in with a San Diego Padres hat that looks like sort of 49ers. No, we know you're a San Diego Padres
season ticket holder.
No.
Get his ass, Jordan. Get his ass.
Okay, yes, I do have the 20 game pack season ticket.
Oh, and that's it. That's all we needed to hear.
But I flex out those games. I flex out those games for when the Giants are in town.
Hold
all right,
that man.
All right,
hold him.
All right. Hey, it's a lot cheaper. The resale's crazy because all the fair weather fans that want to go see Tatis play. It works out. It pays for itself. It's fantastic. So, we were talking about the 49ers fans, the abundance of 49ers fans in LA. I think there's definitely going to be much more Rams fan than what we saw at the preseason game, because being here in Southern California, San Diego, especially where they got abandoned by the Chargers, it's weird because I see more Rams gear in San Diego than I see Chargers gear in San Diego. In fact, I see more Cowboys, 49ers, Patriots, Raiders gear in San Diego more than I see Chargers gear in San Diego. So I think that's more so of the Chargers fan base. When we were out there, I think it will be a pretty good amount of Rams fans. I do still expect to see the 49ers fans outnumber them just because the Rams, they've been gone for so long. LA is much more a USC community, hell, maybe even a UCLA community before a professional football team. I don't think that's too far fetched to say LA has both those teams ahead of the Rams and the Chargers. It's still going to be a tough atmosphere on the road because when we were there was a fraction amount of Charger fans. But if the Chargers made a good play, you still heard the noise come up. And with the Rams, they're going to probably have more than double of what the Chargers fans had there that day. So you're still going to hear the noise.
Fans, Leo.
What's that?
They're going to have 14 because they usually have 7. If they're doing
That's correct.
double, I'm not good at math, but there's 7 real Rams fans. That means double is 14.
The Ramelia, you know,
The
it's a very
the Ramley who tried to come for a Jose Sanchez and then just like hid immediately after they talked crazy about him.
yeah, that's wild. It's like, you know, we have our own little thing with Faithful, which isn't the most, say, masculine thing, since it is football. You know, you would like to stick with masculine uh things, but it's
Wait,
just
hold up.
people.
What's unmasculine about being faithful? And does your wife?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
right now?
get his ass, Jordan. What is he
Get-
talking about?
No, I just mean
Being
like it's just
faithful
not
is the
the
most masculine thing you can do. Okay, men don't cheat, Leo. Let me tell
Men
you.
don't cheat, and men
Yes.
never cheat.
We don't tell lies on this channel, all right? This is the truth.
I muted myself because you guys are totally right. You guys are totally right. So I'm like, there's nothing for me to disagree with there. It's being faithful is absolutely masculine, but I'm just saying in terms of football things that you could go ahead and relate to your own football team. That's probably not the first one that sticks in. It's more so faithful came up because the 49ers were so great, and then they went 20 years of being kind of irrelevant. So they said faithful, you got to stay faithful to the team. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. 49er fans are in deep in LA. I'm seeing it on the Twitter timeline now. Even though it's about a 2-hour drive, I would probably go if COVID wasn't so crazy having a newborn at home.
Leo, let me ask you something before we bring in the actual Rich J Madrid. He's in here, and I already see his name, and it's problematic. But let's talk about things before we get into it. Leo, bigger loss in this game. Let's just say this happens. Jimmy Ward can't play or Trent Williams can't play. What's the bigger loss?
I think the bigger loss would actually be Jimmy Ward.
Okay.
I don't expect Matthew Stafford to go out there and just, you know, throw another pick six or just throw. I guess the first interception wasn't that bad. It's typically a punt in most situations if you want to look at it that way. But it's absolutely Jimmy Ward. Just the communication on the back end is going to be huge, making sure guys are in the right placement. He doesn't give up anything deep. And when you look at the Rams, Matthew Stafford likes to hit those deep shots, whether it's Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., not really Cooper Kupp, but those two guys can burn you deep. So when looking at that, the 49ers definitely do need their star caliber back end safety there. And he could also come up and press against the run. And considering this is going to be Cam Akers' first game back, we'll see how much run he gets. But Sony Michel's been having a hell of a run with the Rams the past month or so. So Jimmy Ward's going to be vital. I get it. Trent Williams is probably an MVP candidate if he plays a different position. But the way the 49ers are going to maneuver their offense, everything quick, everything short, that's fully what I expect, because that's what we've seen from the 49ers offense against the Rams the past 5 matchups that they won. I don't think you necessarily need Trent Williams out there as much as you need a Jimmy Ward out there, because I think whether they win this game or not, I think it's going to be more so of their defense keeping them in this game, because Jimmy Garoppolo not 100%. I doubt they put up 30 points.
So same question to the real Rich Madrid or Rich Madrid 2
senior.
Bigger loss, Jimmy Ward or Trent Williams, if either of them don't play, even though we suspect both of them. Let's just have hypothetical fun.
I think Trent Williams is a bigger loss.
Go for it. Talk about it.
Well, I mean, he's like the entire offensive line on the left side. I mean, Tomlinson's good, but what is that line without Trent Williams on that side? And that's the most important side. So
no, I hear you. I'm listening. I'm just laughing at Jordan's faces. And look,
are you where are you that the sun is shining on you right now?
Exactly. And look, I'm here. It is 10:45 on the East Coast. It has been cold all day. It has been dark since 3:45. And this man right now, like all of you guys are like having the sun shine on you at 7:45 on your coast.
California, baby.
Rich's answer just reminded me of Jordan's impression of Rich, of saying, yeah, he's like Tomlinson. Yeah, he's good. You can win with him, but he's, not the best. or whatever. Jordan's way better than
best commenter on all of YouTube. If there was an award, he
JKBG.
would win.
That's it.
100%,
He's
100%.
like ahead of everybody else in terms of comments right now. All right, look, let's stick to football, right? Let's stick to football. I'm going to ask a question and I'll go around and I will throw this question out and I'll pass it around. 45 minutes in, let's get to why everybody's here. Jimmy Garoppolo starting Sunday, right? I think we all agree. When Matt Mayoko says things, when they don't bring up another practice squad quarterback, if Jimmy Garoppolo is medically cleared to play, he is starting. I'm going to start with the real Rich Madrid here. Does Jimmy Garoppolo give this team the best opportunity to win this game this week?
You know, I thought earlier in the week that he probably did, but sometimes I don't know, man. You never know what you're going to get with him. It depends which Jimmy G shows up, right? So if they get the one from the first Rams game, yeah, they might win. For some reason, the Rams just never have a game plan for what it is the 49ers like to do. So, you know, he could squeak by with maybe one touchdown, you know, a pick in there, a couple 100 yards, and they could easily win that game with him. I don't know if he gives them the best chance, especially if he's like getting injections in his thumb every half to numb the pain from throwing. But then again, you know, if he could play well enough, or he could play bad. I mean, the injury is not really going to be an excuse in my book because he plays the same whether he's hurt or not. So,
and also, if you're good enough to play, then the thumb doesn't matter. I don't want to hear the thumb shit. Like if you're able to play, then the injury is out the window.
He wants to play too. I mean, he wants to go out there and play well because this is going to be on film and it's going to make or break probably his offseason chances of going somewhere and getting a decent contract. You know, I come out, win this game and injure Jimmy G and he plays decently well, then who knows? You know, maybe they can get a decent draft pick back, or he can play himself into another big contract somewhere else. I don't know, but there's all kinds of reasons why it's happening, why he probably wants to do it and why they're going to give it a shot anyways. So, yeah, it's probably going to be him because I do think Kyle wants him in there so he can run a little bit more of the stuff he's used to calling.
Yep. All right. Let me move on to Leo. Jimmy
Bingo.
G starting. Go for it.
Bingo. How Rich just ended that. It's just spot on. I think yes. And it's only so because I think Kyle Shanahan's going to have more of an open playbook. He's going to be feeling more comfortable of calling plays with Jimmy, knowing Jimmy's limitations in certain situations. So I think that's why. I think it's more so about the head coach and the play calling than it's necessarily going to be the ability on both quarterbacks, whether it's Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo out there. I think it's bigger than that. It's the game behind the game with the situation, looking at these two quarterbacks. And man, it's I don't think there was it's just going to be interesting because Jimmy Garoppolo is not on this team next year. We could all agree with that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically you're putting everything each player has went through this season in the hands of the guy who's essentially not going to be on the team next year instead of the guy who's going to be on the team next year. You're going to be like, okay, this is up to Jimmy. Win or lose, you're either going into the playoffs or not going into the playoffs, because I'm not banking on the Saints losing. I don't think you can bank on that as a fan, or if you're a 49ers employee, you cannot bank on the Saints losing. So you're either in the playoffs or out of the playoffs based on the quarterback that's not going to be here next year. I think that's the biggest test than necessarily, does Jimmy Garoppolo give the best chance to win? And I'll say yes, just because of playbook standards.
All right. Rich J. Madrid, what do you think, buddy?
Like, I don't think any of us can really know for sure, obviously, if it gives them a better chance. We haven't seen enough of Lance and we've seen a lot of Jimmy, so it's not really equal footing there. Other Rich will tell you that as great as Lance's second half was, there was a lot of bad in the first half, and I think a lot of that just is getting used to playing at the NFL level, getting used to, how quickly windows close, the speed of the game, all that stuff. This is my take on it. I admittedly, for a long time, and I've been very outspoken about it, am not the biggest fan of Jimmy Garoppolo's. I think that he can be an average quarterback. He can operate the offense at times, but as Rich said, he's way too volatile. You never know what you're going to get, and he just makes way too many mistakes for a guy to be a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. Having said that, I also think that this is a situation, and I will address this specifically to the people who are like fed up with Jimmy, that like are 100% on Trey Lance. Like, this game is a win-win for you. So let me break this down. Jimmy starts this game. The 49ers make the playoffs. You're happy. I'd imagine you're happy as a 49ers fan. They get in, they win. Most of the people I've seen, they're like, hey, I don't care if Jimmy plays as long as he plays well and they win. So if he does that, they get in. If they lose and Jimmy stinks it up, you get the validation of being right, and it's probably the last game he's ever going to play for the 49ers too. So you don't ever have to watch him play for your team ever again. So going into tomorrow, like if I was sitting here and I was a fan who just was so done with Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd be feeling pretty good, because the worst case for you is that, like, let's say you don't care, you just want him to win. Your worst case is that he doesn't, and you're still sitting there like, guess what? It's the last time I ever had to watch that ever again. It's Trey Lance 2022 and beyond. I'm done with this. On the other side, if he wins, the Niners are in the playoffs. And guess what? 1 or 2 more games, you still don't have to watch him ever again. He's out of there. They're getting rid of him this offseason. It's done. It's over. So my whole thing is this. You've come this far on the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. What's one more game? And people will be like, oh, he has the thumb. He has this. It's that. He can't play. How are they playing him? I can promise you guys that Kyle Shanahan isn't sitting there and like, oh, gee, guys, this guy's thumb's so messed up. He can't throw, but I'm just stubbornly going to upset the entire fan base and throw a court. Like, I guarantee you he's gotten through enough at practice where they feel comfortable doing it. And as far as I know, a lot of what he's dealing with is a pain management thing. And I don't think people account for the fact that the majority of NFL players that are hurt have to play through pain. And it's not necessarily that their ability is hindered. It's that they have to deal with pain. They're human beings and they feel it too. And guess what? The NFL loads these guys up with painkillers and adrenaline shots and all kinds of stuff that they get pumped full of. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the 49ers basically numb Jimmy up through this game. He gets through it. He probably can't, you know what I mean? It's not going to be sitting there, oh, my thumb hurts after every throw, to a point where it's going to affect his performance. It's going to be a situation where the 49ers are basically banking on the fact that this guy has a track record of beating this team. And like Rich said, they can open up the playbook a little bit more. And Kyle's had 4+ seasons of calling games for this guy. He's called 2 for Trey Lance. So yeah, I get people aren't like thrilled about it, but it makes way more sense. It's the same reason I said from the beginning, like you kind of had to like start with Jimmy and let him lose his job, which I don't think he ever objectively got to a point that he did this year. Just because it makes, it's really hard to sit here and like, let's say you go to Trey Lance and he plays terribly and the 49ers somehow find it. Like Nick Mullins didn't play great last year when they won down there. They won. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo in week 1 of the wild card? Like, you can't flip-flop like that. Like, that flip-flopping does not work. That cost the Dolphins a playoff spot last year. So I just think that it's going to be Jimmy, and at the end of the day, it's probably going to be one of the hopefully not the very last, but it'll be one of the last games that he plays as a 49er. So no matter how much you dislike watching him play, it's going to be over soon. So, yeah, if that makes anybody feel any better.
Yeah, and for me to give my take, it's less about who the quarterback is and more about what I know about the coach and schematically is able to get things going. But a lot of that depends on being on schedule. And that stuff has happened for 5 games, but law of averages are going to play out one way or another. I still have the 49ers winning this game, but there's still a level of concern that you have to have one way or another, because it's not typical. Like I literally just watched the Kansas City Chiefs win their 13th straight game against the Denver Broncos. That's not typical, though. That's not typical, right? And for as many people who say, well, you can't beat a team 3 times in a season. Well, they've done it over that long. The Seattle Seahawks have done it against your beloved 49ers for a while.
No, man.
No, right? All right, Leo. I'm sorry. But at the same point is, there has to be a point where the Rams don't play their worst game of the season. And they usually do that whenever they face the 49ers for whatever reason. It's not that they're scared. It's just, it might just be luck, right? All right, here it is. Schefter bomb right now. Just tweeted. They're strongly 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, who is listed as questionable due to a torn ligament in his thumb, will start. So Rappaport put it out earlier. Schefter is doubling down. I would get ready for that. But Kyle Shanahan knows how to beat this defense, and he knows where to attack them. So I will less put my faith in the quarterback than I will the coach, play caller. The only thing that changes things is if Jimmy Garoppolo can't convert those 3rd and 3s, those 4 and 1s that, he won 2 games on 4th downs, basically, right? That George Kittle touchdown in 2020 was a 4th down. That Deebo Samuel touchdown where he is like laying like this, that was a 4th down. If Jimmy Garoppolo is not able to operate the offense with that efficiency, then there's a problem. He didn't turn the ball over in those games. He missed throws, right? We can pick film from the 2020 game where he didn't hit Juice or didn't hit certain guys. We get that. But missed throws and turnovers are 2 different things. So what happens if Jimmy Garoppolo comes out and isn't the guy who turns the ball over, right? Like, that's the thing. I still have faith that the 49ers can implement their will. Kyle Shanahan can exploit the matchups that he wants to, for sure. I still believe that the 49ers win this game. Either way. And I don't think that the game plan necessarily shifts as much as people believe it is. And this whole sit on Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance decision is so much of a competitive advantage as people believe it is. Rich Senior, I'll let you take it from there. Is there a competitive advantage from naming a starter immediately?
No, I don't believe any of that. Just because the Rams already have the same tape everybody else does. They know what to expect if Lance is in the game. I mean, they're not going to get a run heavy, or at least from the quarterback, they're not going to get a lot of quarterback runs. They're going to probably get something similar to what they got last week against Houston. People buy into that because it gives them a sense of comfort, I guess, because we're not giving anything away. The Rams have to prepare for everything. Well, what do you think they've been doing for the last 22 weeks of the season? They've been preparing week in, week out. It's not like they haven't faced a mobile quarterback before. They just played one in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. So there's nothing to be gained or lost by naming a starter or not naming a starter. It's just posturing, and it's just gives people to talk, gives them stuff to talk about.
Okay. Leo, is there a competitive advantage to naming a starter, and does the game plan change one way or the other?
No, I don't think there's a competitive advantage by Shanahan holding off to it, because I think if you're the Rams, you know what the hell's going on there. You have your own team doctors. If you really wanted some advice on what this situation was, there's people where you could have conversations with and understand. But at the end of the day, these guys are professionals, and they have Trey Lance's tape last week from the Houston Texans, and they know what Jimmy Garoppolo provides because they have that tape for some time now. It's like Rich said, they face mobile quarterbacks, but I don't think Trey Lance is that type of mobile quarterback where you got to stress your pull your hair out over. He doesn't have the Lamar Jackson explosive plays or the Kyler Murray explosive plays. That's something we haven't seen him tool up yet. I don't know if it's necessarily something because the game's a little fast for him. He's not necessarily putting his foot in the ground. He keeps going wide a little too much on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1s. That's why you're not seeing him get vertical so much. I don't know if it's just a growing process within the game from the NFL standpoint, but I think ultimately it's no, you don't gain anything from it. Teams typically have their mindset made up, and with this offense, they know the 49ers offense so very well. this is not one of those teams that you could trick within the Rams.
Okay. I'm going to take this
Oh.
donation and I'm going to well, go ahead, Leo.
And I just wanted to add in, I found it really suspicious that Jimmy Garoppolo practiced all week, and then you have Trey Lance on Friday. To me, I was like, this is typical Shanahan. Jimmy Garoppolo starting, but he wants to, throw in that wild card of, oh, Trey Lance is talking on Friday. I was like, this is total Shanahan right here.
I love it. I love it too. I'm going to take this donation and I'm going to toss this question to Jordan Rich Jr. How short of a leash will Jim be on? Do they keep him in if he's turning the ball over? Is it fair to throw Trey in to play hero ball if needed? Rich Jr., what do you think about that question?
I don't think he'll have a short leash at all. The only thing that'll pull him out of this game is if he's physically unable to throw the ball. I don't think it has to do with performance as much as like production as much as it's literal like performance. Like if he's struggling to grip the ball and throw it, if he fumbles a couple of exchanges from snap from the center or handing the ball off or something, maybe they get to that point. But I don't think that there's a world that exists where he plays so poorly that Kyle throws Lance out there. And truthfully, I think it's a situation where people equate Lance having arm strength and making this, hit that corner post to Debo, having this big arm. Like they think that, oh, well, if they're trailing, just put Lance in there and go empty and throw the ball a bunch. Like it doesn't work like that. And as bad as Jimmy can be at times, he's actually been pretty good this season when he's needed to throw, and he's been in these situations where they have to drive down the field. They can't lean on the running game. They have to go empty and get the ball out quick. So like, I hate to put it this way, but if Jimmy puts them in a hole, he's the best person to get them out of that hole. And he's done it a couple times this season. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that it does happen again. But I just think it's a situation where if Kyle goes with Jimmy, which is all signs point to him doing so, it's his game to play. And it's his game to win or lose. And I don't think if he throws an interception or two early, that changes things. Maybe if he has like a Nathan Peterman half where he throws like 4 interceptions on the first 4 possessions, maybe you have to look at that. But everything we've seen from Kyle Shanahan would indicate that he's not quick, because there's been plenty of chances where if he was going to pull Jimmy and had him on a short leash, he would have done so and didn't. So I just think at this point, it's Jimmy's game to win or lose, and he's going to play the full 60 if he's physically able to do so. Again, if he injures the thumb even more and that ligament starts tearing off more or something like that, I absolutely could see them putting in Trey Lance, but I don't think it would be a situation where it's like, oh no, we're trailing by 10 or 14 now, we have to put Trey in, because with all due respect to Trey, he still has a long way to go, and I don't think that anybody can objectively sit here and say that Trey Lance gives them a better chance to come back from a double-digit deficit than Jimmy Garoppolo does.
Man, the real Rich Madrid, you're getting a run for your money, because Rich J Madrid is like out here spitting facts, man, and he's doing an amazing job. And I agree with
He doesn't believe half the things he says anyways.
Oh man, well, that's a discussion for offline, I would say, more than anything.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But here's what I'll say. I agree with a lot of what he said. If Jimmy Garoppolo is starting, then it's like the Titanic. Those guys who were playing on the ship, you're going down with the ship at this point. Yeah, that's it. Like you're like, don't put in Trey Lance at a point when Jimmy Garoppolo has put you in a 17-21 deficit hole and say, please, bro, save our season. Nah, you kind of made your bed, just lay in it now. And you've done it all year, right? And I think that leads to a larger discussion about what happened earlier and how you could have managed this and where you end up being. But that's a discussion for the offseason, because no matter what happens in this game, we will have plenty to discuss, no matter what. As much as you guys want to say, well, you're podcasters and you're grasping for storylines, guess what? Your team throws up storylines every single week by just being your team. And we have nothing to do but smack the bass when it jumps in the boat and knock it out. So guess who's clickbait? Your team, not us. So we are at 1 hour, almost 5 minutes. Anybody who's in here, if you're new, if you're not, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell because we will be going pregame, postgame tomorrow with plenty to talk about because this team is never gives you a shortage to talk about. Let's get to the end of this. And we are at the end of the time that you could make this sort of prediction. Let's just take this donation real quick. 49ers Daddy, if they are starting a grade 3 sprained injured Jimmy over a healthy Trey Lance, what does that say about Trey? I feel that he is legit. Why not? Let's take that question and then we'll get to the final question, unless there is no other things. What I will say is Kyle Shanahan right now is so scared of starting a Trey Lance in this game, and he knows that Jimmy Garoppolo can operate the offense that will beat the Rams. This is a week-to-week thing. I guarantee you if this is a Week 17 game against the Houston Texans, he probably wouldn't feel this way. But the Texans were 17. Now, all right, so if this is a Week 18 game with the Texans, if this was a Week 18 game with the Texans, he wouldn't feel this way. But it's the Rams, and I think he knows what he knows. And we'll go around real quick. No long-winded, discussion. But I'll start with fake Rich Madrid. Jordan first. What do you think about that?
I just think that it's what they've said all along. They said their plan was to redshirt Trey Lance. There's a lot to be excited about. He has a lot of physical tools, but he also didn't play. He played one game of football last season. He played in the FCS, and there's going to be an adjustment to the speed of the NFL game. There's going to be an adjustment that they pretty much have said all along, hey, we're planning on Jimmy being the guy this year, and then Trey will be the guy going forward. So I think that we do have to at least – you don't have to respect it because everybody's entitled to their opinion, but we do have to at least acknowledge that it's not like they told us one thing and they're backtracking. They're pretty much sticking to what they've said all along, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I do think that one thing I do want to say is that every time these kind of discussions get brought up, and it's not a bad question at all, but when they get brought up, everybody immediately reverts to, oh, well, Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, and he doesn't want Trey Lance, and he's not starting Trey Lance because he's mad he didn't get Mac Jones. Like, I can promise you guys, if you understand the hierarchy of the power structure in the 49ers organization, Kyle Shanahan would not have drafted a quarterback that he did not want. Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance. He had his reasons for wanting Trey Lance, and he made it very clear that he wanted time for Trey Lance to get ready to play. So if we're still having these discussions a year from now, absolutely have some concern. But this is basically in line with what they've said all along. And the only reason we even have to have these discussions, unfortunately, is that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't feel like an appealing option a lot of the time, which is why they drafted a quarterback to replace him. So,
Leo, anything to add?
So this question that I've seen 49ers Daddy ask, as well as many others online, I can tell you what, they're not having this discussion in the 49ers quarterback room, in the front office, and in Kyle Shanahan's office. They're not having this, oh, what does this say about Trey Lance type of question. I think this is the plan. Like Jordan said, the plan was to redshirt Trey Lance, move forward with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo gets you through the season. Jimmy Garoppolo gets you to the playoffs. Well, where are you at now? You're in a position to where that plan can come to success, where Jimmy Garoppolo wins on Sunday and gets your team into the playoffs. This is not anything different than what we heard than day one. The only difference is we've seen Trey Lance start 2 games. And in those 2 games, we saw Trey Lance put up a total of 3 points in the first half. Now, he looked great in the second half against the Houston Texans, but I know Rich will agree. I know Jordan will agree. There was still a lot of stuff left on the table. And in a win or go home game, Kyle Shanahan knows the formula against the Los Angeles Rams. He has the ingredients against this team. And he has that ingredients with quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo. He won last year with Nick Mullins. Well, Nick Mullins is similar to Jimmy Garoppolo, not as talented, obviously. And so he's going to go ahead and stick with that formula as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is able to throw the football. And what we've seen all week and through these videos, Jimmy Garoppolo can throw the football. And for people to say those videos was only about 10 to 15-yard passes, well, that was only the videos that the media was allowed for. And that doesn't include the passes that the media is not allowed for.
But Leo, like that's the thing.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
that's what he
like,
does.
Oh, they're like, oh, it was those. That's Jimmy. Like, what do you expect more?
Mm-hmm. And in the middle of the field, we're not talking about a 10-yard throw to the far hash, making it like a 20, 30-yard throw in air yards and everything like that. And, from release, no, it's over the middle. So those are typically going to be 10 to 15-yard throws. So it's nothing different. And I think Kyle Shanahan had his plan from day one and is sticking through that plan. Even if it buries him this season in the grave, it buries this season in the grave. But that was the plan. I can tell you what, it has nothing to do with confidence in Trey Lance. Trey Lance understands what is going on here. And if a player is being told by offensive coordinator like Kyle Shanahan saying, I'll make you really great. I'll make you great in this league. I'll make you last, a long time in this league. Trust my plan. Trey Lance is obviously going to trust Kyle Shanahan's plan. Obviously, the competitor in him is going to want to be out there and play, but ultimately he knows what the plan for him is moving forward. He doesn't feel like a guy that's being stuck on the outside. He knows his time's coming.
Okay. The real Rich, what do you have to say about this question that we have right in front of us?
I agree with what the other two just said. I do think it kind of does speak to Trey a little bit, though, because, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, that his development is probably he's probably not developing the way that a rookie quarterback typically would, obviously, because he's not playing. But you can see it in the 2 games or 2.5 games that he's played. Like, just there's certain day one concepts that they install in training camp that it takes him 2 or 3 play calls before he finally throws it. Like, just, the all slants concept. He doesn't trust what he sees. He doesn't, and it'll click for him. Like, it's all correctable stuff, but you got a team right now with a bunch of guys that are on 1-year deals trying to secure the bag for the next season and things like that. And you have a roster that's capable of making the playoffs. They weren't going to turn it over to a rookie unless they absolutely had to. With that, it's that, you've seen how he plays from half to half. I mean, could you imagine having to, this team having to endure that for an entire 17-game season? Like, you're going to get some games where he's really good making highlight level plays, and you're going to get some games where he doesn't come out like that. And would they be what are they, 9-7 right now? Would they be 9-7 or potentially 10-7 with him? I don't think so. Not right now. I mean, they might have been a 6 or a 7-win team or an 8-win team on the cusp, but they wouldn't have been, hunting for a playoff spot this late. So, everybody knows that I've been a start Trey Lance from day one guy, but that's not how they did it. And this is the position they're in. So I don't know, a couple of these games, 1 or 2 plays could have bounced the other way for them, and they'd be 11-5 right now.
And in the playoffs comfortably.
Yeah. But that all that says, though, is that they weren't good enough, and they're not good enough. They are a 9, potentially a 10-win team. And that's with Jimmy. With Trey, I don't think they're a 10 or a 9 or a 10-win team. So, they made the best decision they felt that they needed to make.
I mean, you're getting lost in the fact that Sudfeld should have been starting from day one. Real quick, but go ahead, Leo, real quick before I get to this donation, and we got to wrap up too.
Jamal at 812. This isn't new territory for Lance either. He redshirted at North Dakota State behind Easton Stick. Sure, he wishes he was playing, but he knows his time is coming real soon. That's a fair comparison to make. Where Easton Stick was the guy that they had trust in, and basically his final year, and everybody knew it was his final year. And went with Easton Stick. It's kind of a similar situation with Jimmy Garoppolo, slightly, just because it's North Dakota State and then NFL franchise, so that it's a big, difference in that kind of way. But Trey Lance has nothing to do with his personal confidence level. It's there's been a lot of stuff Rich was saying, day one installs that it's taking Trey Lance 2 to 3 plays to make. And we saw that against the Houston Texans, because once he did get those installs, on the second, third time, that's where you saw those flashy plays. And this game, where you don't have the time for that. You don't have the time to wait 2 to 3, play calls of similar installs, concepts. You don't have the time to do that. So that's why you're going with Jimmy Garoppolo with this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing I walked away impressed with. No matter what, like if the game was lost, whatever, like Trey Lance never looked like a deer in headlights, and I've seen that with many of guys who have been rated higher than him, including the
Yeah.
guy that I wanted, Justin Fields, Trevor
Yeah.
Lawrence, Zach Wilson, right? Like Trey Lance always seemed like the guy who would bounce back. But let me take this donation real quick, and then we'll get to score predictions. George Bailey 2.0 says, yeah, and appreciate you, George, man. You're always donating, man. I don't wish injury on any player, but I doubt he'll play a full game. He's already hurt, and throwing in a game is way more different than throwing in practice. I don't think anybody's really discounting that. It's more about, again, scheme, things like that, and Kyle trying to avoid those things, right? Like he's avoided Tom Compton being a pass blocking right tackle, and that's why he's the highest graded right tackle.
Stop.
He's the highest graded right tackle according to PFF, right? Like he. Oh, wait. Let me take it back. The highest graded offensive player.
Stop.
What am I? Look, PFF's the Bible. It's not my fault.
PFF's capping at that point. Jesus Christ, man. What are we doing here?
It is what it is. Look, hour 15. Let's get to what everybody wants to know, right? It seems that Jimmy Garoppolo's starting, right? What are the predictions? I'm going to start with Rich Jr., and we're going to go all the way around after that.
I went on Brad Graham's show on Thursday, and I said that my gut told me the Niners would make the playoffs, but I was concerned that it would be because the Falcons would beat the Saints, and it wouldn't necessarily be because the Niners won. And I thought about it a little bit more, and I think the Niners find a way to win this game. So I said yesterday, I think 24-20. So I'm going to stand by that, and I think they find a way to pull it out, and they get 6 in a row, and they win at SoFi for the second time this season.
All right, Leo.
I think it's a big thing with, Shanahan having McVay's number over there head to head. I think it's a real concern when you look at his offenses. And McVay, I think he's one of the best minds in football. We've seen him put up 3 points in the Super Bowl and very minimal, points on the board in other games on top of that. So I think this is going to be the 49ers game. I think they complete it with a 6th straight win over the Rams. Whether that goes to 7 and 8 next year, I don't care. Just get the 6th this year, get your team into the playoffs. And I'm going to say it's more so no team's going to score in the 30s. So I'm going to go 23-20 49ers.
The real Rich Madrid, the second. What do you think?
What did I say the other day? I don't even remember. 30.
You said the Rams were going to win.
Guy's so wishy-washy,
Yeah,
flip-flopping, can't back what he says.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be 38-24 Rams now.
Okay. Is
Can
that
I
because
point out, before you give yours, can I point out how funny it is that he basically seeded this to me by making himself Rich Madrid too? Like he didn't come in and challenge that at all. Like I basically
he did come in with another number, but he realized it was a family show and he changed it up. He wanted to come in.
You'll have to go back to when I came on to see that one.
Yeah, he wanted to come in hot.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with my original prediction, 30-24 Rams. I don't know. Nothing has felt right about this game all season.
So you think they run it up 38 points? Like
no, 30.
No,
30,
I said 30.
30.
I was only saying that because Jordan said I was wishy-washy.
Oh, right.
Mr. Wishy-washy.
He called you the laundromat over
Company
here.
man.
Sheesh.
Get
That's
his
you.
ass real rich.
This final week game against the Rams, it just hasn't sounded good to me all season.
I think we focus so much on the quarterback matchup when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo, Matthew Stafford. But I think when it comes to the talent level, the 49ers are equally there with the Rams. They have, and then Emmanuel Mosley is going to be back, correct? He got activated off of IR.
the 49ers defense will be the healthiest that they can be, possibly, with
Yeah.
IR people off, as close as they can be right now at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off the COVID list, but the guys that were positive, they could still be contagious. Apparently, stuff that came out this week about
Well, if you don't test,
new variant. So
if you don't
if
test,
you don't test, then you don't have it.
if you don't test, you don't got it.
Right.
Let me just take this from G.I. Jones. Jason, why are you so mellow and giggly? Keep up the good work. I dig the show. Appreciate you, bro. I'm just trying to stay happy for a little bit, just for a little while. So, but let me get to my prediction. I still think the 49ers win this game 27-21. And this will be sweated out all the way. Like, Matthew Stafford will have the ball with a chance to win the game, and the 49ers will find a way to get it done. Maybe I'm overly confident in my coach, in what he can do. And I think they can win this game with Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, either way, because you're going to run the ball a ton of times. And the 49ers don't necessarily need to run the ball with chunk plays. They need to run the ball to kill time. Elijah Mitchell ran the ball 27 for 91, 3 a clip. That wasn't exactly him chewing up the Rams. He was chewing up the clock. When you can have an 11-minute drive on the first drive of the game, it puts that other team in a bind. So I will put my trust in Kyle Shanahan. I will put my trust in this team, in this defense.
Can you flash that comment?
What? Which one?
Dude, JKBG is like,
yo, he's killing it right here. Let's just line it up. Don't worry, fellas. Lombardi is going to rub some coconut oil on Jimmy's thumb, caress it, call it beautiful, and then he'll send the EPA daddy to win the game. If there was an MVP that we can give for the season, JKBG is up there, man. He's got like one of my first place votes. Realistically, though, and that's 2 if you're doing a drinking game, I think the 49ers win this game. And I think they win it just based on tactical advantages that they have. So call me a homer. Yes, it's cold over here. For anybody that's asking, I'm wearing a hoodie. It's snowing over here, and it's like 22 degrees on the East Coast.
It's hoodie season for everyone, though.
Yeah, but it's 22 degrees on the East Coast. So, yes. And I'm supposed to be promoting this sweater as some sort of influencer thing, but I don't want to do that just yet. No, man. No,
I don't want to do that.
But real quick, before we get to an hour and a half, shout out to everybody that's in here. Make sure you shoot this video a like.
Hey, give Vicious prediction.
Can I ask you? No, but before he does Vicious prediction, can I ask you a question that you can answer as Vish maybe?
All right. So what are we doing first? Are we gonna do impressions all across the board, or
you can do impressions? There's something. So let me put it to you like this, you guys. Vish is one of the smartest individuals that you will ever come across. He's eloquent,
100%.
He's gifted, and he is very good at just breaking things down at a level that his humongous brain can relay to us with our smaller brains. And I mean that, like, I'm not even like joking. Like, he's a tremendously intelligent individual. But there is one thing this season that I got right that I think he got wrong that I would love to hear from fake Vish as well as the real Vish if he's out there. Before the season, I said that the Rams lost too many pieces, and this goes back to what Jason was saying about the stars and scrubs that he was relaying that Brian Peacock said. And they have a lot of guys, but they lost Troy Hill. They lost John Johnson. They lost a lot of these guys. They lost Brockers. Like, they lost a huge chunk of the defense. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I don't think they'll be top 10. I think they'll regress somewhere to the middle. There'll be a league average defense somewhere right around the middle. Do you know where the Los Angeles Rams rank right now in total defense?
Go for it.
They are 16th in the league. What is 16 out of 32?
Middling, half. Look at this
big mid.
I just have to throw that out there. I'm sorry. It's very
rare. Get out of here, man. Citing total defense.
Get out of here, man.
Kick him out.
It's the same as citing passing yards as a way to evaluate quarterbacks, man. Like I'm
Hey, honestly, Rick having this like heel turn to like analytics is like the funniest shit I've ever seen.
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, man. Because again,
That's not analytics. It's just common sense. When the Rams
DVOA is an analytic.
Did I cite that?
You do
No.
all the time. I have receipts.
I didn't.
I got receipts, Dad.
I didn't cite it today. I just said you're out of your mind citing total defense as a argument against argument for the Rams being a top,
me saying that the Rams total defense would regress to the middle and their total defense literally regressed to the could not be more middle. You're out of your mind if you can't absorb the W that I've taken on this. I take a lot of L's. Man.
You're taking a lap. You're taking. Okay, I'll give you that one. All right.
Frequently, it's totally fine. But I'm just saying that this one,
you didn't.
All right. Good.
Don't take an L on this one. I'll give you that one.
No, come on, man. I mean, we take L's on everything. Like, I literally said the 49ers could beat the Colts. They're going to beat the Colt McCoy Cardinals.
On the subject, real quick, I do think I have to double check. I know Rich hates total defense, but the 49ers, I'm pretty sure, are still top. They're a top 5 passing defense. I don't know if they are in total defense, but they might be a
top 10 defense
for their 3rd year in a row, which is insane if you think about it. 3 years in a row as a top 5 defense.
And that's my thing is all right, whatever. So since we're doing victory laps and we're enjoying this season, I said this 49ers defense could regress and still be a top 10 defense, and people would still not like that. And if you look at the numbers, they still are. And that speaks to your first year defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, who won't be here for much longer. Like, you might get one more year of D'Amico Ryans, but people are going to start to sniff around him for a head coaching job.
Real quick, too, the Rams are 15th in points allowed, too, Rick. So it's not just the yardage. And the 49ers are top 5. They're 4th right now in total defense. So,
wow.
He's muted. He doesn't know he's muted.
Get owned, Rich.
Got owned by StreamYard.
He's still on mute. He's muted.
You're muted. Come on, Rich.
Damn it. I was cussing him out, so I didn't unmute. I said that's what happens when you play with big leads and give up garbage time points all the time. You give up yards and points.
Ravens was garbage time. Vikings was garbage time.
The 49ers are 14th in points.
Are those the only games they played?
Yes.
Okay.
49ers are 14th in points allowed, and what I think that means is that when they're given the team has the other team has the ball at the 25-yard line, they have to go a full length of the field. 49ers defense has stopped them. When the offense turns the ball over on their side of the field, when Jason's favorite player can only punt the ball 37 yards, and the field
my favorite player is Robbie Gould.
That's what I'm saying. So the 49ers are at a spot where, like, this is why I like yards over points, because points, if you turn the ball over on your own 10-yard line and the other team scores, guess what? Your defense is eating those 7 points, even though they only ceded 10 yards of field position. Yards are going to tell the course of a season much better than points for, DVOA, any of this other stuff. Watch the film, Rich. You got owned. I win. You lose. Game over. Take the hike.
49ers don't give up a lot of points because they have huge time of possession.
They lost the time of possession battle to the Texans.
Listen, man. Listen, total yards and total points does not give all the context.
But the point is the 49ers can hold the ball for a ton while beating the Rams. That's the point,
I hope they do.
Hey,
I just don't think they're going to.
That old head Rich moment when his shit was muted and couldn't talk.
No, I was really cussing you out. I didn't want this family show to hear that.
Look, all right, we're at an hour and a half. Look, appreciate everybody who has joined. Look, as someone he cut it off as someone was about to cuss his ass out. Look, we're at an hour and a half. Thank anybody who is in here, old or new. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to go all the way around because all of these guys have their own things going on right now. I'm going to start with the Rich on the bottom, Rich Madrid 2. Where can they find your content? where can more people ingest your beautiful film analysis?
Randomly on Twitter, Niners Nation. I have one up today on Trey's game last Sunday, and I've written about 26 articles about the Packers this year over at their website, acmepackingcompany.com.
Christ, man, nobody cares about the Packers, man. I mean, I know they're gonna make the Super Bowl, but look,
You will in a couple of weeks.
G.I. Jones wants to know, breaking, Jimmy G re-injured his thumb taking snaps on the center. The center was Kiara Mia. Okay, I'm done. Jason, I got 500, bro. Appreciate you, bro. And thank you for the 5. And
This next comment. This next one. Jeez.
This one. What? I think Madrid is packing beneath the camera, getting aggressive. Dang, Jason. Anyway, Leo, long time. You guys think Jimmy is playing? I think our secondary is shutting down Coop. Mitch Madrid, too, is angry. Oh, my goodness. Leo, tell us where we're at, man. And look, shout out to you. I appreciate you, Sean, for the donation, man. But Leo, talk to us, man. You got a lot going on, too, man.
Yeah, I'll just keep it simple. You could follow my channel on YouTube as well. Probably just find it by typing in Leo Luna 49ers and you'll see it come up with there. I go live with Jason. I'm planning some other live shows, once Jordan and Rich make some time for me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say I usually butt in once a week on Jason and Andrew's show.
Well, when we do Sprint Red Option after dark, it's the most beautiful time. All right, Jamal, as usual, great show as always, very entertaining. Need that Vish impression on the way out, so I will do that. But also, before I do the Vish impression on the way out, Jamal has his own channel with him and Jasper where they talk 49er football. Both of those guys are great. I want you to make sure that you subscribe to that. So before I get into what Rich the Second has to get into, what do you think about what's going on? And can you tell us where we can find the other Rich Madrid going on with his articles? But because he's great, and that's what I want to hold on to.
I don't know, man. I mean, you can win with my articles. They're not bad. It's just, I just kind of talk about what I see. You can find me on Niners Nation. I like to cover there, cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, whatever. I cover the team, man. Niners Nation. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just boring sometimes. Just analysis, what I see. Yeah, you can find me on NinersNation.com. I do articles for them. I'm on Twitter, and occasionally when these gentlemen ask me to go on their shows, I'm always honored to do so. And then I just wanted to echo Jason's previous point, and then Leo's as well. Please follow Leo. His channel is fantastic. He's an incredible human being. Even though he is a Padres fan, he means the world to me. So please support him.
Big Padres fan.
Yeah, and then Jamal and Jasper have a great channel too. Those guys are phenomenal, and I can tell you guys, he is somebody that deserves all the love and support that I see you guys giving. All these 49ers content creators, these guys are just kind of getting their thing going. So any way you could help them out would be awesome because they deserve it. They are fantastic. And and like Jason's video too. Jason's the man. He's we don't call him the Godfather for nothing. So
I'll
pass it on to him after that.
Will you stop it? Look, we're about to end this, right? And we're gonna end it after an hour 35. And I'm lucky enough to be blessed with these guests, right? People that I look up to, I learn from. No matter what happens tomorrow, this has been an amazing year covering this team, learning more about this team, and enjoying my time as a content creator. And right now, all I want is a 49ers win. I know it sounds corny. Don't care who starts. Get it done. Whoever it is. Get it done, 10. Get it done, 5. Get it done, Kyle. More than anything. At the same time, all I want is what you guys want. Is to be able to cover one more game. Just one more game. And then from there, we'll decide from there. But I love and respect all of the people that are on this panel with me because I look up to them and I talk to them offline. But
That's not
after,
true. He's like 7 feet tall. He looks down at all of us. Like you literally have to look up.
yeah,
to
you're
see.
talking about actual in real life, but I'm talking about like me sending clips to Rich, me talking to Rich about, and me talking to Leo about when should we set shit up, me talking to you about, yo, can I stay with you? All of you guys, I love what you guys. I love what you guys do.
Jason's actually sitting on the floor with looking up at his desk.
I'm tired of y'all. And it's an hour 35. The last thing that I will say, let's go Niners. Let's finish this season out the right way. But peace out. Welcome everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.